Hi, my name's Richie from A2 Tyre Supplies, and today we're going to be talking about removing and refitting the wheel. We've already got the vehicle jacked up, and you can see that in the previous video. So, before we start, I want to make sure we've got the right tools for the job. This is a Mercedes 17mm socket, coated as well, and we know, just checking, that's going to fit nicely. So we've retrieved the lock-in wheel nut from the vehicle. It would also be handy, if you can't find it, ask the customer, see what it is. Might be at home on the fridge. So before we start, we're going to just check the condition of the lock-in wheel nut key, making sure that's good. Locate it in a hole, make sure we've got it nice and locked and turned slightly to the left, ready to be undone. So we've got the lock-in wheel nut in place. We're going to start by undoing the one opposite, just in case it is over tightened. We don't want to put too much stress on the lock-in wheel nut key. And like I said, starlight motion, we can do the opposite one now. Carefully removing them as we go. We're happy, they're not over tightened, so we're going for the lock-in wheel nut key. When you get to the last one, just make sure you've got sufficient pressure onto the bottom of the wheel, just so it doesn't fall off, damage any components, i.e. ABS sensors. Place your foot at the bottom, gently remove the wheel. So move the wheel out of the way, and just as before you walk away, place the wheel nuts over near the jack, just so they're out of the way and not going to roll under the car or be kicked around. So before refitting the tyre, I'm just going to make sure the hub is nice and clean, just to make sure there isn't any debris or any corrosion on the hub, which can risk the wheel falling off. So wire brush, just scratching the surface nicely, making sure we're going all the way around the hub. Get anything off, close your eyes, give it a quick blow just to get any excess off. Bit of copper grease and just carefully apply around the hub. Now to refit the wheel to the hub, back onto the vehicle. So before we do that, just going to line up the two holes here with the two holes on here. Also we have markings here on the disc face, which is good, a good indication of where we can go. Gently use your foot, come down, lift again, being careful of any ABS sensors. Got that located there, have a quick eyeball in, and using your foot to rest the bottom of the wheel, we can then release. Using the socket, give it a couple of turns on each one to avoid cross-threading any nuts. And with the lock-in wheel nut key, we're going to turn this all the way in and not use the gun on it, as this can damage the internals of the lock-in wheel nut key. So we've got a 5-stub pattern. We're going to use a star-like motion, so opposites, like that. Just until it touches. One click is all we need. There we go. Now using your torque wrench, we're just going to set that for this vehicle is 120 Newton meters. So before we torque this vehicle, we're just going to find the information we need on the tyre pressures and torque setting chart. So here we have the Mercedes, and we're going to find the correct model and the correct year. So this one being a C-Class 204, 2007 to 2014. There's the torque setting there. Also we have the tyre pressures indicated. We can find any vehicle on this chart. If you do happen to come across a vehicle which isn't appeared on the chart, then we can speak to the staff in the office to find the correct setting on auto data. So with this style of torque wrench, we just need to pull out the end. We've got a line in the centre there which indicates how many newton meters we're going to use, which is on the left side of the column, newton meters, not foot pound. So we know this vehicle is 120. Keep turning it until we've got the 120 and the 0 in there. So if we had 120 0, that's 120, 121, 122, 123 and so on. Back to 120 with the 0 indicated there. Push the end back in, we're clicked, locked, ready to go. Set that ready. Place it on the floor gently. Lift the jack handle, carefully turn it to the right, just so it's pressed onto the floor. So removing the socket from the gun, apply it to the torque wrench, double check, and in opposites, star-like motion. So I like to go opposite the locking wheel nut key so we can get that nice star-like motion. One click. Keeping your hand against the end here so we don't do any damage to the customer's car. Finish off with the locking nut. One click. Remove. And then we're going to go back round, just reassuring that they are all nice and tight. Complete. So once finished with the torque wrench, again, pull this out, wind it all the way back down to 60 newton meters as recommended, just to save stretching the spring and knocking out the calibration of the torque wrench. Obviously an uncalibrated torque wrench means wheels might fall off, which we do not want. Back to 0, 60, push back in. Lift the handle, turn to the right, and continue to remove the jack out of the way. Always remember, locking wheel nut always goes back in the box. Ready to go back inside the customer's vehicle. I like to leave them in visual, so when the customer gets into the vehicle, they can always see it. Thanks for watching this video on how to remove and refit a wheel.